this next problem, we're going to be finding out how many orders were placed in each month in 2013 and 2014. And I want to include this count of orders, and I want to call that as number of orders. And I also want to show the year and month that I'm aggregating that together into. And I'm going to create two solutions, one where I'm using Extrac and one where I'm using data Trunc. So let's go ahead. First, we're going to be creating a calculated field called number of orders. And that's going to be based on some sort of count. And this is going to be in my select statement. And I'm going to have two fields first. I'm going to be working with the Extrac first. And I'm going to call these two fields order year. And I'm going to call it order month. I'm going to be pulling data to calculate these things. I'm going to pull that from the order header table. And the reason why I'm using the order header table is because that includes the order date first of all, but then each row in the order header table represents one order. So if I count how many rows I have in the order header, I know how many orders I had. All right, so I'm going to be using order year, and I need to use Extract to get the order year out of here. And to do that, I need the year. I'm going to pull that from the order date. And I'm going to call that order year. And then I'm going to have something similar for order month. I'm going to use month instead, of course. And then I'm going to have a count here. And I could count the order ID, for example, as long as the column I'm counting has values for each row. And I'm guaranteed that the order ID has values because it's a primary key, so it cannot have null values. But I'm going to show you something else I do sometimes. Sometimes I just type a 1 in there. That's essentially creating a new column with a bunch of 1s in them. And then I'm just counting those 1s. And since it's a 1, I could also do sum, and that will give me the same thing. But since I'm creating kind of a count, I think it's easier to kind of use the word count. I think that makes it easier to kind of understand the code. So this is an easy way if I don't want to worry about whether the field I'm trying to count or sum up has potentially null values in it, then I can just create a new field like this that has the value 1 in it and then count that field. All right, and then I need to group by, because I want to show for each year and month. So I'm going to be grouped by order year and order month. And then I'm going to sort this too. I'm going to order by, and then I'm going to end this statement. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and see what we're getting here. So order header does not exist. And in the problem here, it doesn't say what table I should be using. I'm actually going to update the descriptions here to give you that, but I'm going to be using the purchase order header here. So I'm going to use the purchase order header table, and then I'm going to run this. I'm actually missing something here. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but here I'm getting the order year and the order month, and then how many unique rows are there, or how many rows are there in each one of these groups, which is the same thing as the number of orders in each one of these groups. But notice here I'm getting years in 2015 and 16 as well, and I believe the question asks to only have years in 2013 and 14. So I need to exclude. I can actually use a having here or a where statement, but I'm going to be filtering before I'm doing the grouping and the counting, so I'm going to do a where statement. And when I do the where statement, I do need to check for the year. So again, I need to extract the year here. I can't use order year. It hasn't yet created that when it's looking at the where calls. So I'm going to extract the year from the order date, and then I'm going to say in, and then this is going to be 2013, 2014. And then if I run that now I get the same thing, but I'm only getting 2013 and 14. You can't see all of the 14, but it ends. I only have 24 rows here, so that's those 2 years. Right, the other solution requires me to use the date trunc. So I'm going to copy this. I don't have to retype everything. And I'm going to change the extract to date trunc. And then here I have to include quotation marks, but I don't want to just pull the year out of here. I actually want to pull the month and the year. So I'm going to say month here instead. And I don't need to include two date truncs now, because the date trunc will include both the year and the month in one field. So I'm just going to change this to order year and month is what I'm going to call this. And then I can delete this field. I don't need it, but I still need my count here. I'm still going to be pulling from purchase order header. And then I need to do another date trunc here. Oh, and I don't have the from keyword here either. I have a comma instead. And here, either I do a date trunc month, and then I say between, and then I type between what years I want this to be. That'd be 2013 0101 and 2015 0101. And then I'm going to be grouping now instead by order year and month, because I have one field with both those values, and then I'm going to order by that same field. If I run this, I get the same results as I did with the other solution. Of course, I'm showing not in two columns, the year and the month, but in one column I'm showing both the year and the month. And I'm showing the rest here, but notice how those are all consistent for each group, that is. Another alternative, of course, I could have done my same where statement I had before. So of course now the problem here forced me to approach one with only extract and one with only date trunc. But as you probably see here, in many ways, when I want to group something, I want to separate things from different times, and it depends on what's to the left of whatever it is I'm selecting. So if I'm selecting month, it's important to understand what year that month is part of. But if that's the case, a lot of times I do want to use date trunc. It simplifies the code a little bit. So I only need this instead of all of this. And the same thing then goes for the group by and the order, which is also order by, which are also easier to read. However, the date trunc here in the where statement is a little bit more complicated than the year from here. Because here I don't need the year and the month, I only need the year. Because I'm looking at if it's in 13 or 14. So sometimes extract will be easier to work with, and sometimes date trunc will be easier to work with.